Over the past few years, the North American ski world has seen some of the largest capital investments in history, and for the 2024-25 season, a large number of resorts are promising to continue this trend. This past off-season, more than 50 ski areas spearheaded some sort of investment to their slopes, lodges, lifts, and many other aspects of the ski areas. But not all investments are created equal. So which ones are solely nice-to-have improvements, and which ones have the potential to be true game changers? Well, in this video, we'll go through the scheduled upgrades at each of these mountains for the 2024-25 season, and we'll detail the implications if you're planning a trip to any of them. To break everything down, we'll tier each suite of improvements into 4 different categories: minor investments, or smaller scale changes that aren't intended to have huge front-facing experience impacts; noteworthy investments, important changes that aren't the most prominent but have the potential to bring palpable experience improvements; substantial investments, or changes that we expect most guests will prominently notice; and game-changing investments, or changes that will not only be noticed, but have the potential to expand the resort's appeal to a meaningful new clientele. And if we didn't cover a mountain, it means that no serious investments have been made for the upcoming season, or at least as of this recording, haven't been announced yet. With that all being said, let's jump in. Before we jump into specific projects, we want to highlight a few general upgrade initiatives that have made their way to dozens of resorts around the continent. A large chunk of the North American ski scene has announced investments in snowmaking, new grooming equipment, employee housing, trail and glade clearing, and RFID upgrades for the upcoming season. It's also possible that others are continuing to invest in these areas in an under-the-radar fashion. It's also worth noting that in a continuation of a company-wide rollout, Vail Resorts is adding the following mountains to their My Epic Gear program, a Vail Resorts run subscription program that's intended to allow guests access to the same model of skis, snowboards, and boots throughout the season at any participating mountain. Next, we can move on to a few small-scale investments that may be low-key, but are still worth calling out individually. Starting with Alta, this top-of-the-line Utah resort is adding new covered conveyor lifts to their Albion base area with the intention of improving the beginner experience. One of these will be open to the public, while the other is for ski school only. On the other end of the terrain spectrum, Alta is also improving the ballroom and high traverses, creating smoother and wider access paths to some of their most popular intermediate, advanced, and expert terrain. Moving down to southern Utah, Brighton Head will be expanding its trail network, adding 3 trails to the footprint. This includes 2 beginner trails and 1 intermediate trail, expanding the resort's offerings for skiers and riders of those ability levels. The resort hasn't yet announced where on the mountain these additions are, so keep an eye out for trail map developments to see. Moving back to the Cottonwood Canyons, Utah's largest night skiing footprint is getting bigger, as Brighton is adding lights over on the Millie side of the resort. This is a continued expansion of this type of operation, as the Snake Creek area was retrofitted for night skiing only a few years ago. This upgrade means that there will be night skiing off every lift at Brighton except Great Western, and that afterwork skiers and riders will have even more terrain to explore under the lights. Moving over to Colorado, Aspen's beginner-oriented Buttermilk ski area is getting a few new base area improvements. First, there's a new guest services building, which provides a great new spot to get tickets, rentals, and lessons. Second, the Mountain Lodge has been renovated, offering high ceilings and expansive dining options, as well as a renovated patio, which offers heaters for days when the sun is out, but the weather is still a little chilly. Diamond's Peak, located on the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe, is adding a small upgrade, but a welcome one for the small community. There will now be a backcountry access gate at the top of Crystal Express, which allows for easy access to some of the most stunning backcountry lines in Tahoe, accessed off the backside of the resort itself. Colorado's Eldora ski area, which is located just 30 minutes from the Denver suburb of Boulder, is seeing a new building in its base area this season. The Caribou Lodge will be the brand new facility for the ski school, as well as the nonprofit Ignite Adaptive Sports, which helps people of all ages and abilities learn to love winter sports. The facility also hosts a cafe and a solar roof that provides more energy than the building uses. The Lake Tahoe area's Heavenly Resort is adding a new restaurant to its California Lodge. This restaurant, which is called Golden State Kitchen, is intended to offer healthier alternatives to the typical chili and fries found at base lodges, although it won't add any seating. New Hampshire's Loon Mountain is making an upgrade to its Octagon Lodge base, which sees a redesign to its patio. The surface will be set up to melt snow quicker, and a new walkway will change the flow to and from the lodge. Moving on to Mount Bachelor, Oregon's largest ski area is making a few improvements, starting with a remodel of the Sunrise Lodge. This investment will add 50 seats to the indoor seating area and allow for mobile ordering from the cafe. Also, Mount Bachelor is adding restrooms to some outlier areas, which include the Northwest Express Pod, the Outback Express Pod, and the Cloud Chaser Express Pod. Nevada's Mount Rose Resort, located just east of Lake Tahoe, is making some base area improvements this winter. These include the addition of the Timbers Taco Stand in their Mountain View dining area, improvements to the Lodgepole Cafe, and improved flooring. The resort will also be extending their popular open late hours, which starts in late February, and will now allow for skiing and riding until 6 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays once this program gets off the ground. Vermont's Okemo ski area is getting a small upgrade, but one which will be important for beginners. The resort is going to add 2 new carpet lifts, which should help with first-time skiers and riders in progressing to steeper slopes at the Jackson Gore base area. Moving back to California, Palisades Tahoe is also making some base area improvements. A new cafe called the Little Bear Cafe will be located near the tram and will have in-house baked goods as well as warm drinks and small plates. On the Alpine Meadows side, a new barbecue place will be located near the base-to-base gondola terminal, promising plenty of smoked meats and other food options. At the Gold Coast on Mountain Lodge, a new restaurant called 39 Degrees will serve Asian cuisine. Utah's Park City, which is the largest ski area in the United States, will see a minor enhancement this season. Several trails in the Tombstone area have been reworked to facilitate earlier openings and improve skier traffic flow. These upgrades are intended to alleviate congestion on runs that tend to get crowded throughout the peak times of the year. New York's Plattekill Mountain is making a few changes this winter, including a new intermediate trail called Whiskey's Way. They've also finished new carpeting across all 3 floors of their main lodge, which should make for a more comfortable and modern experience. Southern British Columbia's Red Mountain is getting a welcome addition to its base area this season. The Crescent's condo project adds 102 units to the base area, and guests will be able to rent them out through Red Mountain's lodging division. Revelstoke is the tallest ski area in North America, and the resort is using that elevation to its advantage. Following the move of the Bunny Hill to the top of the Revelation Gondola, the resort is also moving its mountain sports school up there. This will relocate the starting point of intermediate through expert lessons and other education programs to be in a much more scenic location, as well as place the school in a place with better snow conditions and easier access to the upper mountain. California's Sierra-at-Tahoe has been through a lot in the past few years, with the resort seeing a radical transformation after a major wildfire in 2021. Nevertheless, the resort continues to make improvements and access changes. Along with joining the Icon Pass as a 5 or 7 day partner this year, the resort has repaved their parking lots and access road, ensuring easier access and plowing for the years to come. Northern Utah's Snowbasin Resort is embarking on a multi-year modernization of its popular Needles gondola. The project will see a refurbishment of about a third of the gondola cabins this year, including new windows, components, and seats. The ultimate goal is for all cabins to be refurbished before the 2025-26 season. Additionally, the Trappers Loop entry road has been reworked to ease entry, and some parking in the desirable Earls lot will be reserved for cars with 3 or more passengers to incentivize carpooling. Washington State's Stevens Pass is introducing a new parking reservation policy this season. This may not sound that great on the surface, but it should help address one of the largest issues with the ski area, access road traffic. During weekends and holidays, lots A, B, E, and G will be reservation only, which is around half of the lots at Stevens Pass. These lots will cost $20 for most guests, but they'll at least be free for cars with 4 or more people or single adults with 2 children under the age of 12. On non-holiday weekdays, all parking will continue to be free. Vermont's Stratton Mountain already has one of the most modern lift setups in the Northeast, and they'll be aiming to sustain that competitive advantage this year. The Ursa and American Express lifts will have their control systems, tower circuits, and drive machinery upgraded, with other minor components getting a refurbishment as well. Also at Stratton, the Benedict's restaurant will move to the Stratton Courtyard, replacing the Carve restaurant, and will offer breakfast and brunch items all day. Also, the Waffle Cabin is making a triumphant return to Stratton after at least half a decade of absence. The snowiest ski area in the North Lake Tahoe region is seeing a few minor upgrades this upcoming season. First, Sugar Bowl is redesigning its terrain park setup with the goal of becoming one of the top training grounds for park athletes. While we don't have many specifics, expect to see larger and better built features in the future as the parks become more of a priority for Sugar Bowl. Additionally, the Village Lodge is finishing up some renovations to its espresso bar, lobby, and deluxe suite, which should update that lodge for years to come. After last year's debut of the 120-acre West Mountain expansion, Sugarloaf is chugging along on the enhancement train this season, albeit to a smaller degree than last winter. First off, the resort is completing trail work in the West Mountain area that it didn't get to last year. Most notably, this includes improving the Buzzsaw Express load and unloads, installing a new skier bridge over Sawtooth Way, and adding snowmaking. Outside of West Mountain, the terrain parks at Sugarloaf are changing a bit, with the medium park moving to the Whiffletree area, putting all terrain parks in that one zone. Finally, the base area is getting a very stereotypical main addition, as LL Bean is getting a location in the base area, making sure you can look the part at this northern Maine resort. Northern New Mexico's Taos Ski Valley is seeing a few enhancements this year, mainly to its base area restaurants. Both Tenderfoot Katie's and the Martini Tree Bar have been redesigned to increase capacity, which should help decrease wait times at the already not too busy base area. Southern Colorado's Telluride ski area is getting an interesting addition to its trail network this season. The resort is adding the new Heritage Trail within the intermediate Enchanted Forest Glade area off Lift 10. This kid-friendly adventure trail will be designed to educate visitors about the history of the region, including the indigenous people, exploitation of the land, and rise of mining. The largest ski resort in Colorado is getting a small upgrade this season, as a new bar is opening at the Mid-Vail On-Mountain Lodge. The new Powerline pub will be accessible for those skiing and riding plus those on foot, as the Gondola 1 can bring foot traffic up from the base for those looking to watch a football game at over 10,000 feet. After a big new lift last year with the Notch Quad, New York State's Whiteface Mountain is seeing a smaller investment this year. The Bear Den Learning Center will be getting a new patio this season, kitted out with in-ground heating to ease with snow removal. Colorado's Winter Park is making a small change on paper, but one they feel is important for the culture of the ski area. The resort is replacing trail signs in the Eagle Wind area with signs that include Arapaho translations of trail names. Winter Park has worked closely with the Northern Arapaho tribe, especially when it comes to the Eagle Wind area, and the resort is trying to educate the public more on the native history of the land it sits on. In addition, the outpost at the top of Wildspur Express will be partnering with Tokabe, an American Indian eatery, to offer unique on-mountain foods. Tokabe-made chili will also be available at other on-mountain dining establishments, and the Mary Jane Cafe will also have other Tokabe offerings. Washington State's White Pass ski area is seeing a few new enhancements this season, including an improved beginner area and lodge. The learning area is being reshaped to use man-made snow features to make learning to ski or ride easier. Funnily enough, this is the same type of learning terrain used in the indoor ski resort in New Jersey. Additionally, the patio under White Pass's outdoor deck has been enclosed to allow for more heated seating with great views out of expansive windows. Finally, we move on to Wolf Creek, where one of the most isolated ski areas in Colorado is making a major parking lot improvement. The 4x4 lot, which has a ski and trail to it, will be paved for this season, effectively making its name obsolete. Moving on to this year's noteworthy investments, one of the most popular resorts in New York State's Catskills region is making some notable improvements this winter. First off, the resort is adding a beginner carpet and learning area to the top of the gondola, mirroring similar investments out west, which allows learners and beginners the same mountaintop views previously reserved for intermediate or higher skiers and riders. The move should also allow for better snow retention for the learning area. Another improvement is for the Overlook Quad Chair, which has a mid-unload station under construction as of right now. This mid-station was built into the lift when it was added last year, but work is on track to be completed for that mid-station sometime this season, which should make the lift more usable for skiers and riders lapping the terrain park and intermediate trails below the steeper Yahoo Trail. Finally, and maybe most importantly, the Discovery Lodge is getting a 25,000 square foot expansion, seeing a new rental center on the ground floor and expanded food service and seating on the upper floor. Colorado's Copper Mountain is getting one of many new high-speed 6-pack chairs this winter, with the new Timberline Express chair replacing a high-speed quad of the same name. We expect this upgrade to help bring about a decrease in wait times to lap this popular mid-mountain intermediate pod. In addition, a new childcare facility has opened at Copper Center Village, making for an important asset for visitors and employees alike. After years of anticipation, Washington State's Crystal Mountain is finally seeing a new and improved base area this upcoming winter. The Mountain Commons will bring 25,000 square feet of base area facilities, including food and beverage, skier services, and a general viewing area. Elsewhere on the mountain, the Queen's Beginner Run has been widened, which is intended to improve the beginner experience in the Forest Queen area, although some expert lines have been slightly altered in the process as well. Far eastern British Columbia's Fernie resort is making a few small changes that could have big impacts this year. One is a facelift of the Grizz Bar at the base area, expanding seating at this iconic après spot. Another more notable investment for hardcore skiers and riders is the addition of a snowcat to the top of Polar Peak. This will allow for faster turnarounds from storms for opening this lift, which already has one of the most fickle schedules in the industry. Hopefully, this plan will provide more opportunities for the resort to open this lift and allow guests to ski or ride some of this really standout terrain. What's arguably the East Coast's most raw and challenging mountain is getting an interesting but important upgrade this season, with the skier-only resort adding a mid-station to their Sunnyside double chairlift. This mid-station will allow for easier access to the Birdland beginner area, as well as provide a lappable area on man-made snow, as there's no snowmaking above 2,300 feet at Mad River Glen. In past seasons, only the practice slope area has been open when there isn't enough natural snow to ski or ride on, and this investment will more than double the amount of terrain that can be opened in the early season when the upper mountain is closed. California's Mammoth Mountain is getting some improvements that we'd argue are worthy of the ski area's name. The Broadway chair, which is one of the most popular at the mountain, is getting replaced with a high-speed 6-pack, bringing a much-needed 25% capacity increase. Additionally, the Woolies Tube Park is getting a day lodge to provide concessions, restrooms, and indoor seating to this popular off-slope activity. Moving over to Mount Ashland, one of Oregon's smallest ski areas is getting one of North America's smallest terrain expansions, but don't let the size fool you. The new Lithia triple chair serves lower intermediate terrain and eases the jump from the beginner area to the main face of the mountain, which is more focused on upper intermediate to advanced terrain. This expansion doesn't expand the skiable acreage of Mount Ashland, as this area was within the resort footprint just without lift service, but it does add some practical progression terrain right near the base. Additionally, the Isle 2 trail will be widened, and some night skiing lights will be replaced with LED lighting. New Mexico's popular Red River ski area is getting a brand new chairlift this year. The ancient copper double chair, which was the oldest lift on the mountain, is getting replaced with a new fixed grip triple chair of the same name, increasing capacity and easing loading and unloading. Red River is also introducing a beginner lift ticket that allows lift access to just the bunny hill at a reduced rate. Utah's Snowbird ski resort is getting a new chairlift this season, as well as some base area improvements. The Wilbur double chair is getting replaced with a new fixed grip quad with a loading carpet, and the loading area is moving much closer to the Creekside base area. This move is intended to help with accessing this small terrain pod faster, and should help with crowd flow by giving those starting at the Creekside base more out-of-base options. However, this relocation will make it slightly longer for guests coming from the Peruvian base and some nearby condos to get to the top of this terrain pod, which not everyone will appreciate. Elsewhere at the resort, just below the tram deck, fans of Snowbird's tram will see a familiar sight, as the original red tram car will be installed on the patio. Finally, it's worth noting that the Midgad restaurant will not be present this year, as it was demolished to make way for a new restaurant for next year, and those looking to stop in will need to find another place, either at the Creekside base or at Hidden Peak. Vermont's Sugarbush ski resort is seeing a replacement of what's arguably one of its most important chairlifts. The Heaven's Gate triple chair is getting replaced with a fixed grip quad with a loading carpet, making for more reliable laps to this high elevation terrain pod. It's important to note that this new quad isn't bringing an increase in capacity, as there are fewer chairs on the line, resulting in a relatively similar throughput to the triple it's replacing. The main reason for this replacement is the age of the outgoing lift, which was installed over 4 decades ago. That being said, the heavier quad chairs should also be more reliable in the high winds of Lincoln Peak. Washington State's Summit at Snoqualmie is making some serious changes as well this season. The Wildside chair at Summit West, which is 5 decades old, is finally getting a fixed grip quad chair replacement. The new chair is in a new alignment that should decrease the amount of traversing required to lap some terrain, and will feature a loading carpet to make for faster rides and fewer misloads. Additionally, the central to west crossover has been reworked in order to ease navigation in the area. Finally, Snoqualmie is introducing paid parking at all its lots, with no cost for season pass holders and multi-day ticket holders, $5 for Icon Pass holders and single-day ticket holders, and $55 for everyone else, which is intended to dissuade people who aren't paying for Summit at Snoqualmie services from using the lots. Utah's Sundance ski area, located south of many of the most famous Wasatch ski resorts, is seeing a few enhancements for this upcoming season. First off, the Mountain Camp Day Lodge is being built at the base of Jake's Lift, making for a proper day lodge at that base area for the first time, with amenities such as food and drinks, gear rentals, a ticket office, and lockers. In the same area, the Lot E parking has been expanded by 110 spaces to accommodate the expected demand. Finally, the Springs Relaxation Pools, which is a spa-like area, has been added to the base, providing another unique opportunity for a post-slopes activity. Idaho's Sun Valley is seeing a lift replacement in its popular Seattle Ridge area. The former Seattle Ridge high-speed quad is getting replaced by a high-speed 6-pack, which is expected to add 20% to the uphill capacity, making for even shorter lines at this popular low-intermediate terrain pod. Rounding out the noteworthy investments on this list, North America's largest ski area is getting its own 6-pack replacement, with the Jersey Cream high-speed quad getting traded out for a high-speed 6-pack. This lift was delayed by a year due to labor shortages, but it's finally making its way onto a ski hill after originally being planned as a replacement for the Eagle Express at Park City. This lift should bring much more reliable operations than the outgoing high-speed quad, which was over 35 years old, as well as an uphill capacity increase of almost 30%, which should help quell lines at this popular mid-mountain pod and navigational route. Elsewhere on Blackcomb, several trails are getting reworked. The most notable of these is that the Blue Line and Crystal Traverse Blue Square runs have been replaced with Black Diamond runs, while the Showcase Bowl off the T-Bar has also been redesignated as a Black Diamond. Notably, this change turns the Showcase T-Bar into an advanced and expert-only lift. These changes have supposedly been made due to glacier recession in the area. Over on Whistler, the Hike 2 Flute Bowl has also been reclassified to no longer have any intermediate rated terrain. Now we get to this year's substantial investments, and the first one on our list is at Washington's Alpental. The resort is installing the new International Triple Chair in a completely new alignment, which is expected to provide a second lift route to the famous Alpental back bowls for the first time ever. This should make for a huge change to the way crowds flow at Alpental, taking a lot of pressure off the overworked Edelweiss chair, which is currently the only route to the upper mountain. This should also take some of the load off of the lower mountain Armstrong Express, which has historically been required to lap some of the most popular expert terrain, including the International Trail itself. Additionally, more avalanche mitigation infrastructure is being installed, making Ski Patrol's job easier, safer, and faster, and hopefully allowing for some of the most extreme and dangerous terrain to be opened quicker after storms. Finally, Alpental is introducing paid parking at all of its lots, with no cost for season pass holders and multi-day ticket holders, $5 for Icon Pass holders and single-day ticket holders, and a whopping $55 for those who don't hold any of these tickets. This is intended to bring down the use of these lots for those who aren't using Alpental's facilities. Canada's Banff Sunshine Village, which is one of the most stunningly beautiful but also staggeringly cold ski areas in North America, is replacing a lift that should provide some welcome relief from that weather this winter. The Angel Express, which was one of Banff Sunshine's oldest lifts, is getting replaced with the Super Angel Luxury Express, the Bubble 6-pack in that same alignment. This will be Banff Sunshine's second Bubble 6-pack after the TP Town Luxury Express, and it serves some of the most popular above treeline intermediate terrain at the resort. The physical chairs should also be more wind resistant due to the added weight, although bubble chairs can sometimes catch more wind, so it will be interesting to see whether weight or wind wins out this winter. California's Bear Valley, located south of the Lake Tahoe region, is seeing some major investments this winter. The largest improvement for the season is the replacement of the koala chair with the fixed grip quad. This not only increases capacity to this underutilized area, but should make loading and unloading easier, as currently, the chairlift is an ancient center pole double chair with a very steep unload. This will make some low intermediate to advanced terrain much more appealing to lap, and we expect the investment to also take some crowds, however rare, away from other terrain areas. Additionally, the formerly unused Kuma triple chair is getting a new life, as it's getting cut down to serve the same terrain as the Cub chair, with that particular lift getting removed. This will make for more capacity on that beginner terrain, as well as easier loading and unloading in comparison to the old center pole chairs. The final lift improvement is also doing away with center pole chairs, as the Super Cub chair is getting its chairs replaced with a newer chair design, which should also ease loading and unloading. In unison, all of these projects will decrease the amount of center pole chairs from 4 to 1, with the only remaining one being the advanced and expert Grizzly chair. Speaking of Grizzly, the terrain in this lower elevation bowl is getting slightly reworked to ease grooming and allow the terrain to open with less snow than previously required. All these improvements are intended to combine to make the lift network easier for beginners and intermediates and allow the Grizzly Bowl to open more often, which have historically been two of the biggest complaints with Bear Valley as a whole. Not to be confused with Bear Valley, Bear Mountain is one of the largest ski areas in Southern California, and the resort, which is part of the Big Bear complex, is also making a splash with lift improvements. The resort is replacing two lifts, Chair 2 and Chair 5, with a new high-speed 6-pack called Midway. This will be Bear Mountain's third high-speed lift and should provide fast laps to beginners, intermediates, and park skiers and riders. The lift will also have a conveyor to ease with loading, and will also be less than a 3-minute ride, which is shorter than both outgoing chairs, even though Chair 5 was half the length. Overall, this development should simplify the base area and allow for faster laps for all Bear Mountain visitors. If there's any ski resort that's been on an investment grind over the past few years, it's gotta be Montana's Big Sky, and that investment push isn't stopping this year. Last year's Lone Peak tram installation is getting its finishing touches, including a massive enclosure built from over 400 glass panels, making for a new architectural structure at the terminal. But perhaps more importantly for the resort's overall mountain experience is the new Madison 8 lift, which is an 8-person bubble lift replacing the 6-shooter lift in the Moonlight Basin area of the resort. This upgrade is expected to bring a capacity increase of a whopping 50%, and the bubbles should provide a welcome break from the elements on those cold Montana days. In addition, the lift is expected to be slightly faster than the outgoing 6-shooter, which will definitely come in handy on this very long lift line. On a more minor note, Big Sky is also installing a short new gondola that will provide real estate access from the new one and only hotel. Moving back to the East Coast, New York's largest ski area is seeing some big improvements this year. First up is a replacement for the Hudson Triple Chair with a new high-speed quad. This will make for much faster laps in this low-elevation pod, and despite its remote location, we expect the installation to bring traffic away from other busier terrain pods, at least on weekends and holidays, as it's still going to be closed on off-peak weekdays this upcoming season. In addition to the Hudson Express, the Northwoods Gondola is getting its own improvements. The gondola cabins are going to be upgraded this year, allowing for wider skis to be put on the ski racks and making the gondola ready to go for years to come. Sticking in New York State, we're seeing some pretty consequential upgrades from Hunter Mountain in the Catskills. First up is a replacement of the Broadway fixed grip quad with a new high-speed 6-pack. This chair is in a slightly adjusted alignment, which will allow for easier access to the F-lift near the bottom of the resort. This replacement also brings a capacity increase of a whopping 55%, which should help with the notorious crowding all too common at Hunter Mountain. Luckily, another lift at Hunter is getting a major revamp as well, as the former Broadway quad is getting moved to replace the E-double lift, effectively doubling the capacity there. The lift is also getting renamed the Otis Quad. We expect the new Otis lift to revitalize this previously seldom open area, especially improving the experience for intermediate level visitors. Perhaps the most important upgrade of the year for expert skiers and riders is Jackson Hole's new sublet lift. This previously fixed grip quad is getting an upgrade to a high speed, doubling the line speed of the chair. While there's no capacity boost from this upgrade, the faster ride time should make for some really quick expert-oriented laps in this area. This is also the last of Jackson Hole's major lift pods to become high speed, making close to 100% of terrain lappable with detachable lifts. Lake Louise is also rounding out a major investment with the addition of the Pipestone Express Bubble 6-pack. This lift runs in a new alignment from the top of the Juniper Express to the bottom of the Summit lift, adding a new redundant lift route from the base to the upper mountain, and finally creating a real purpose for the Juniper Express lift, which has been largely useless up to this point. This lift installation also makes lapping the advanced and expert lines in the West Bowl much easier, and the bubbles on the lift are sure to give skiers and riders welcome isolation from the frigid Canadian weather. This lift will also provide yet another way to access Lake Louise's popular backside. Maine's Pleasant Mountain, which is one of the closest ski areas to Portland, is getting a major lift upgrade this year. The mountain's old Summit Triple Chair is getting replaced with a new high-speed quad, which is the first detachable lift at the resort. This upgrade will halve the ride time of the old chair down to 4.5 minutes, making this local mountain much more desirable for skiers and riders. This will also make Pleasant Mountain the fourth ski area in Maine to have a high-speed lift, and could very well pull some Boston skiers further north to try out this under-the-radar area. New Mexico's Ski Santa Fe is adding a new high-speed lift as well, replacing its Santa Fe Super Chief lift with a high-speed quad. This new lift serves much of the lower mountain terrain, including beginner, intermediate, and advanced trails, and offers a massive decrease in lift ride time from 10 minutes just to 4. This upgrade has the potential to make Ski Santa Fe much more competitive in the northern New Mexico ski market, which is currently dominated by Taos. One of the most well-rounded Colorado ski areas is perhaps getting even more so, as Snowmass is replacing the Coney Glade Express Quad with a lift in a new alignment. The new Coney Express retains the unload location of the Coney Glade, but moves the load terminal down to the base area. This new setup should help tremendously with morning crowds at Snowmass, which have previously had to contend with only 2 out-of-base lifts. This lift also has a mid-station to provide quick laps on the terrain park, as well as to allow unloading of foot traffic for the Lynn Britt cabin and the race arena. Speaking of the Lynn Britt, this cabin is getting an expansion that will add more outdoor seating and an outdoor bar and grill. The final entry in our substantial investments category is British Columbia's Sun Peaks, which is finally re-entering some temporarily abandoned terrain this upcoming season. The new West Bowl Express lift, which is a new high-speed quad, will bring lift service back to the West Bowl, which was lost after the West Bowl T-bar was removed 2 years ago. The new lift will also expand the resort's ski bowl terrain by 169 acres, maintaining its status as the second largest ski resort in Canada. The lift will create a new pod of intermediate and advanced terrain in this near and above treeline area, and provide a high-speed alternative to the nearby Crystal and Burfield, the latter of which is so long that it's actually the longest chairlift in North America by ride time. Elsewhere at Sun Peaks, another addition is a new ski and snowboard cross course, which is built from earthworks to lessen the need for deep snow usually necessary for this type of course. And finally, we move on to this year's game-changing investments. And this year, there are 2 resorts that qualify. The first one we'll cover is Utah's Powder Mountain, and this resort is undergoing both huge culture and investment changes, but they're both positive and negative. First off, on the plus side, the Lower Mountain Paradise Quad is finally getting replaced with a high-speed lift, drastically cutting the nearly 12-minute ride to now around 7 minutes, and making some of the most popular terrain at the resort much more pleasant to lap. The decades-old Timberline Triple Chair is also getting replaced, this time with a fixed grip quad, which should make this area much more reliable for the years to come. The final notable lift installation is the Lightning Ridge Lift, which is a fixed grip quad that accesses terrain that was previously only hike to or snowcat only, giving Powder Mountain the potential to become much more desirable for advanced and expert skiers and riders. This lift also makes it finally possible to reach the sundown area of the mountain without taking a bus or shuttle. However, not all changes at Powder Mountain are good, and the mountain is also unfortunately getting more exclusive. A few of the lifts at the resort, namely Mary's and Village, as well as a brand new lift, the Raintree Fixed Grip Quad, will all be exclusive to Powder Mountain homeowners only in a newly defined area that's been rebranded as Powder Haven. This move is an effort from the resort to drive more real estate development around the Powder Mountain area, but some people might see this as an affront to the humble and low-key vibes formerly associated with the resort. Additionally, parking on weekends and holidays will now be paid for non-pass holders, which is a bit perplexing given how uncrowded Powder Mountain has historically been known for being. Finally, the ski area will not be selling day tickets on weekends in February, which is yet another piece in how the management is trying to make Powder Mountain more exclusive. The final ski area we'll go over is Deer Valley, where one of the biggest multi-year projects in the world is underway. Deer Valley is adding 3 new lifts for this season as part of what it calls its Expanded Excellence project, including a high-speed 6-pack, high-speed quad, and fixed grip quad, all in the new Deer Valley East base area. This base area is south of the current Jordanelle base and will eventually offer an entire base village, but for this year, we'll just be seeing 500 parking spaces and a new Grand Hyatt hotel. The new Keatley Express lift will be Deer Valley's first high-speed 6-pack and will extend from Deer Valley East to the base of the Sultan Express. This lift will also serve 300 acres of intermediate terrain, though this is around the same elevation as the run served by the Jordanelle Gondola, so conditions may not be all that great in this area. Another lift in the area, the Aurora Quad, will allow skiers, but not snowboarders because Deer Valley doesn't allow them, to get out of a drainage near the base area. Overall, this is only the start in a myriad of investments over the next couple of years, but even this upcoming season, we might see this expansion sway some groups into choosing Deer Valley due to the improved access from Provo and Salt Lake City. Well, that's our comprehensive list of North America's ski resort upgrades for the 2024-25 season. Utah is certainly seeing a few changes this year, as are New York and Western Canada, although Colorado, Lake Tahoe, and Vermont are having a bit of a down year in improvements, though no areas are truly getting stiffed in the upgrades department. We'll be keeping an eye out to see if things heat up in these regions in future years. Speaking of things heating up, if you're looking to experience some of these upgrades for yourself, we're incredibly excited to share that we've got you covered. Come check out the new Heaven's Gate lift at Sugarbush on our Peak House Vermont trip, or the upgrades at Mammoth on our Peak House Spring Break trip. A bunch of folks are also going to be experiencing the huge upgrades at Big Sky, Jackson Hole, and Deer Valley this year on trips that have already sold out. And if you want to experience some slopes you've probably never heard of before, we're also running Peak Casa Italy with optional addendums to Austria and Switzerland. There's only one spot left on that trip, so you'll have to act quickly. And the best part, no matter which trip you go on, these trips are fully turnkey with a communal house stay, taking care of groceries, and coordinated transportation. These trips are an almost unbelievable opportunity to get in some of the best skiing and riding out there without having to even think about any of the planning hassle, so if you want to snag one of the few remaining spots before they're gone, check out the links in the description below. What do you think about these upgrades? Any in particular you're stoked to try out? Let us know in the comments below. And special thanks to our Peak patrons. If you want to find out more about how you can support us, click the link in the description below. For more information on over 100 ski resorts around the world, check out peakrankings.com. See you for the next one.